Morning, this is the hearing clerk. Is Mr. Philip White on the line? Mr. White, have you joined the meeting? If you're signed in as guest, you may be muted.
Good morning. It is April 28th. It is almost 9 o'clock a.m. We're going to start a few minutes early. This is a special docket of the Oil Conservation Division. We have one hearing by affidavit and one contested hearing. I'm going to call the hearing by affidavit first. This is Permian Resources, case number 25959. Entries of appearance, please.
Yes, Jackie McLean on behalf of Permian Resources.
Good morning, Ms. McLean. I see someone from ConocoPhillips. Do you know if they're going to show up today?
They entered an appearance. I'm not sure. They did not object to the proceeding. But I am not sure if they were going to log on or not.
Okay. Why don't you go right ahead?
Okay, thank you. In this case, we were asked to submit an amended application and amended exhibit packet so that we could put lots instead of units in the legal description for these wells. We did so. We sent a new notice letter with the amended application on April 8th. We also ran a new affidavit of publication for April 10th. And everything else remains the same. And with that, we ask that these exhibits be admitted into the record and the case be taken under advisement.
They're admitted without exception. Is it Mr. McClure? Or is it Mr. Fordyce, who's the technical examiner for this one hearing by affidavit?
I thought it was Mr. McClure originally.
Yes, it's Mr. McClure, Mr. Hearing Examiner.
All right. And Ms. Hatley, are you entering an appearance?
Good morning, Mr. Examiner. I'm sorry I tried to be early, but not early enough. Carrie Hatley entering appearance on behalf of Marathon Oil Permian. We are not objecting, just monitoring. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hatley. Let's see. Let me check Mr. McClure's notes. He may have put notes in this case, so give me a minute.
I believe that he did, Mr. Hearing Examiner. This is Mr.
Perfect.
Fordyce.
Perfect. Let me take a look.
He had dropped me a note yesterday that that case could be taken under advisement, 25959.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Fordyce. And I'm just going to check the hearing notes here. Okay, yes. Thank you. We're taking this case under advisement. Thank you, Ms. McLean.
Thank you.
All right, we're off the record in that case. Let's move on to Avant Operating. We have two cases that are contested here, 25956, 25957. Entries of appearance, please.
Good morning, Mr. Hearing Examiner. Caitlin Locke appearing for Avant.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Hearing Examiner. Yaritza Pena with Hardy McLean on behalf of Permian Resources Operating, and we're just monitoring.
Thank you, Ms. Pena.
Good morning, Mr. Examiner. Carrie Hatley entering her appearance on behalf of Marathon Oil Permian and monitoring only.
Thank you, Ms. Hatley.
Good morning, Mr. Examiner. Jordan Kessler on behalf of EOG Resources, also monitoring.
Thank you, Ms. Kessler. Do we have the party that's objecting? I believe the name is Philip White. Do we have Mr. White with us? I see someone logged in as guest who is muted, and Freya, you can't unmute you can't unmute them manually?
I cannot. I can only mute them, but not unmute.
I didn't know. Thank you. Mr. White, we're going to continue. I'm not sure if you're with us or not. I saw an email from you, Mr. White, that was forwarded to me by the hearing clerk. Let me find that. And I'll read it into the record. While I'm looking for that email, here it is. So this is from, it says Philip. The email address is blanco1@msn.com. It was an email that was sent Saturday, April 25th to Ms. Chance at 8:34 p.m. Hi, Freya. Thank you for that. I had asked the status hearing examiner to allow me a 6-month continuous to allow a recovery from my life-threatening ordeal in January, but he scoffed at such a request. He allowed the minimum 1 month, ending on Tuesday. I have recovered to a certain degree. I estimate my recovery at 60%, but in no sense of the word am I in any condition to travel to Santa Fe for an in-person grilling at the OCD. Thanks for the heads up anyway. Respectfully, Philip White. Ms. Luck, have you been in communication with Mr. White?
I did reach out to him last week, and at that point in time, we were discussing the fact that he was attempting to sell his interest on the 21st, and my client did make an offer to purchase that interest on the 21st and then subsequently again on the 24th. So I was in contact with him last week, and I understood that he would be here this week, but then it sounds like he let Freya know differently yesterday. I'm not exactly sure if it was his intention to appear today or not based on the email string.
So would he be negotiating with Avance Landman?
Yes, and that's Miss Sarantino. She's here on the line.
And we'll discuss this with, I'll discuss this with Ms. Sarantino. She was here last week, so I know who she is. Let's see one other thing here. So I see the email from Ms. Chance to Mr. White sent on April 24 at 3:45 p.m. Mr. White, as a pro se party in next week's hearing, I wanted to let you know that in-person appearance is strongly encouraged. The hearing location is listed in the pre-hearing order that was sent to you on March 19. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. So it was made clear to Mr. White that he didn't need to show up. It wasn't a requirement to show up in person, and that he could have proceeded virtually. So far, there is no notice from Mr. White. So we're going to continue. Mr. White is not here. Ms. Luck, let's talk about your case. It's still opposed, in my opinion. I do not have anything to show that Mr. White has withdrawn his opposition. Do you?
I have not received a withdrawal of his objection. No, sir.
How do you wish to proceed?
Well, at this point in time, Avant would like to present its case, both of them by affidavit. The witnesses are here to answer any questions the hearing examiner may have, or if the division would prefer, we can come back on May 7th for an affidavit hearing.
Is there any objection to proceeding by affidavit? Not hearing any. Let's see. How many witnesses do you have?
I have two witnesses here today. There's Tiffany Sarantinos, the land person, and then Josh Payne, the geologist. Excuse me.
Okay, let's get both witnesses. Well, first, let's deal with the exhibits. So what exhibits do you have for us?
Today, for both cases, I have submitted exhibit packets, and then as of this morning, we had to submit an amended exhibit package for both cases to correct some issues with our exhibits.
What issues?
Mr. Payne would be able to describe the geology issues regarding where the pin formation was located and how he would like to clarify that on his exhibit package. And then with respect to the land exhibits, I also included an additional exhibit as required by the division's rules regarding committed and uncommitted interest owners, to be clear that it was clearly delineated on that exhibit how the parties were provided notice. And so those were the two major corrections that were made. There was a geology correction and then also the committed and uncommitted exhibit as required by division rules.
Let me speak to Mr. Fordyce. Mr. Fordyce, have you had an opportunity to look at the amended exhibits?
I have just opened them about 10 minutes ago, and I'm trying to see what has changed in them.
Well, let's not. So Ms. Luck, did you put together the amended exhibit packet?
Yes, I did.
Okay, can you explain to Mr. Fordyce, instead of him having to search for what's been, did you include a cover page to show what's been updated?
The table of contents was amended to say amended exhibits and then had the notations on there.
Okay.
However, I did not submit a cover letter. I can do so.
Okay, so just walk Mr. Fordyce through what has been updated in the amended exhibit packet.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Fordyce, if on case 25956, you turn to page 30, you will see an additional page starting there with the owner name, owner type, status, commitment type, and then the dates of notice as well as the notice exhibit. And likewise in 25957, there is a corresponding exhibit just like that that starts on page 32. And then additionally, I think that our geology witness could speak better to what his changes are on the geology exhibit. But it's my understanding that his exhibit D2 was amended to reflect where the pin formation was located on case 25957. And that exhibit D2 is located at page 51.
Ms. Luck, was there a change to exhibits D4 or any other exhibits in the geology exhibits, or was it just D2?
I believe it was just D2, but I don't want to be the final word on that. I believe that Mr. Payne's here to explain those changes. If we could just have him confirm that there were no other changes to the other geology exhibits that were previously provided in the original exhibit package.
Ms. Luck, do you want to ask your witness what was changed?
Yes, can I call him now?
Not as a witness, but just to answer this question for Mr. Fordyce. It's not under oath right now, so just ask him.
Okay, Mr. Payne, could you explain for Mr. Fordyce what the changes were to your exhibits?
Yeah, on exhibit D2 on both packets, we showed the Cisco top, which is the last top that we have above the strawn.
And were there any other changes?
No, that was it on both exhibits. Essentially, we just moved where we call the top of the pen, base of the Wolfcamp, up a little bit.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mr. Fordyce, does that answer your questions?
Yes, it does.
All right. So let's deal now with your exhibits.
Okay.
You have an amended exhibit packet. Does that contain all of the original exhibits with corrections, or does it not?
Yes, Mr. Hearing Examiner, it's intended to be a substitute or a replacement exhibit package that has all of the original exhibits and simply has the additions and the corrections noted.
All right. Ms. Chance, will you take out the original exhibit packet and just leave in the amended exhibit packet?
Yes, I will.
All right. So would you like that admitted into evidence?
Yes, Mr. Hearing Examiner. So at this time, I would move to admit exhibits A through E for both cases.
As submitted in the amended exhibit packet?
Correct. Filed today with the division, April 28th.
Okay. And in the future, you'll include a cover letter?
Yes, Mr. Hearing Examiner.
Thank you. Okay. Admitted without exception. So you said you had two witnesses. Why don't you, well, first of all, what was the nature of the objection since Mr. White's not here?
Yes, it's my understanding that the nature of the objection is Mr. White's interest is unleased. And so currently he has the option to either lease his interest to Avant or to any other party. And it was his opinion that Avant had not made good faith efforts to reach a voluntary agreement before attempting to pull his interests.
Okay. And how long, when did you start, I know you were not the original counsel in this case.
Yes, sir.
Why did you take over this case?
I think that Ms. Bennett's firm actually had previously represented Mr. White.
Okay.
That was a conflict.
All right. When did you take over this case?
I took over this case in early April, and I appeared at the status conference and requested was it early April? It might have been March, but I requested a contested hearing at that time, and then it was set for this contested hearing.
Why don't you check your entry of appearance, tell me what date it was filed?
Okay. Oh, it was actually March 18th. So it was mid-March when I entered an appearance.
And when did you first start communicating with Mr. White?
Well, so the communications occurred through Avant, and Avant sent their original well proposals back in December of 25.
To Mr. White?
Yes.
You know that for a fact?
Yes, and that's based on Avant's exhibits. Our land representative is here today to testify to her communications with Mr. White starting in December of 2025.
Okay, perfect. And remember, the court reporter needs you to slow down and speak clearly.
Okay.
Can I have Ms. Sarentinos and is it Mr. Payne, you said?
Yes, it's Mr. Josh Payne.
Are you both in the same room?
Yes.
You are, okay. Perfect. Would you both raise your right hands, please? Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I heard two yeses. Ms. Sarentinos, let's start with you. Would you state and spell your name for the record?
Sure. Tiffany Sarentinos, TIFFANY SARANTINOS.
And you've been previously admitted as an expert before this division?
Yes, sir.
In what field?
Petroleum land matters.
Okay, Mr. Payne? State and spell your name for the record?
JOSHUADAYNE.
And you've previously been admitted as an expert before this division?
Yes, sir.
In what field?
Petroleum geology.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Luck, your exhibits have been, your amended exhibit packet has been admitted into evidence without exception. Your two witnesses have been sworn in. Why don't you begin your case?
Okay, I'd like to call Ms. Sarentinos as my first witness. Ms. Sarentinos, thanks for being here today. If you could start off by letting the division know your role in these cases and a summary of your land testimony.
Sure. Avant
has applied to pool for a Wolf Camp 960 acre spacing unit, which includes all of section 21 and the north half of 28. And that is for the Penn and the Wolf Camp formations. Like Ms. Luck stated earlier, we sent out proposals in early December to all of the working interest owners and a handful of unleased mineral interest owners, mostly that had pewed out of previous leases before.
Okay, and just for clarification, the 25957 application is for the Penn formation, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and so I know you've submitted these exhibits for the division to consider, but is it your opinion that Avant made good faith efforts to reach a voluntary agreement with Mr. White prior to pooling?
Yes, that's correct. When he first initially received his packet in early December, we exchanged a handful of phone calls, and he expressed his interest in with us leasing. And he had like some certain lease provisions that he wanted to use, and we continued to negotiate through those for months, and we're agreeable to all of them. We actually came to a formal agreement, and that was when Ms. Bennett was representing our case. She kind of was passing emails between myself and Mr. White, because again, he had a previous relationship with Ms. Bennett, so I think he felt comfortable. And we didn't mind. And he had agreed to lease with us. And then, unbeknownst to us, he let us know that he was actually going to be listing his interest in an auction in April. And it was at that point that we first learned that we did not have a deal anymore.
Okay, but then subsequent to that, did Avant continue to make efforts to purchase his interest at the auction?
Yes, that's correct. We were actually awarded the highest bidder on the auction on the 21st. And later received note that there had been a reserve, meaning that a minimum amount had not been met by the seller. So he declined all offers. And then the third party clearinghouse reached out to us and gave us the opportunity, I guess, to submit another bid, which we did so. And I think the clearinghouse notified us that it was declined.
Okay, and so that was all the way up through last Friday, April 24th. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and so is there anything else that you'd like to add for the division to consider?
Nope, I think that's it.
Okay, and were each of your exhibits prepared by you or under your direction and supervision?
That is correct.
Okay, and so that concludes the questions that I have for Ms. Sarantino, so I turn her over to the hearing examiners. Thank you.
Let me follow up on that last question you asked. Ms. Sarantinos, are there any corrections you need to make to the exhibits that were admitted just this morning?
Just the ones that Caitlin had mentioned. Do you want me to go through those with you?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So actually in our application, I think originally had been prepared by Dina Bennett. In paragraph 2 of the 25957 case, which is the Penn case, the verbiage she used was actually Wolf Camp unit, but then used the correct Penn pool code and name. So I think we were attempting to correct that in this update. And then there were corrections made to the tract map and legend. They just weren't matching up. I think it was a copy paste error on my behalf. And then we just added the 2 additional offers that we sent to Mr. White on the summary of contacts for both.
Okay, so you said you corrected something Ms. Bennett did in her description of the formation or pool code or something like that. Can you be more specific what you're talking about? What was it originally and what did you correct it to?
So I could be speaking wrong, Caitlin, so correct me if I'm wrong, but in paragraph 2 of the 25957 portion of the application, where you kind of describe in text what you're attempting to pool, I think she accidentally listed it as a Wolf Camp unit, and then listed the Penn and then the correct Penn code, but I do believe it said Wolf Camp.
Ms. Sarantinos, this is hearing examiner, Mr. Fordyce, a technical examiner. I'm looking at that. Just for clarification, since we're talking about it. If you're referring to the application in paragraph 2, it still says Wolfcamp horizontal spacing unit in the Lee Penn gas pool.
Okay, well, maybe Ms. Luck decided that we were not going to correct that.
If I may, I can't change the application that was already on file with the division. It is filed as our Exhibit B with the exhibit package for 25957. So as Ms. Sarantinos is noting, the application has an internal inconsistency that rather than saying the pin formation, it says the Wolfcamp formation. However, it correctly lists the pin pool. So all the rest of our exhibits, meaning Ms. Sarantino's affidavit, Exhibit C, and our Exhibit A, the application checklist, all correctly list the pin formation.
And is that on the amended exhibit? Is that one of the reasons why you amended your exhibits?
No, that was all in the original exhibit package that was filed with the application with the internal inconsistencies, as well as the correct checklist and the correct affidavit.
Okay.
We were aware of this issue coming into hearing, but we wanted to bring it to the division's attention at the hearing to determine if the application could be approved as is, given the fact that there was the internal inconsistency, but the correct pool code.
Okay. Mr. Fordyce, why don't you examine this witness?
Good morning, Ms. Sarantinos. I'm looking at the exhibits for case 25956. And it would be on page 12, which is your self-affirmed statement. I think there's also a correction maybe needed in paragraph 11 that states for case 25956. And you see that it mentions a Wildcat -015, so on, some other number, but a Bone Spring pool. In that case does involve a Wolfcamp pool. And in paragraph 12, for case 25957, it looks like there's another correction needed, as that case is again involving a Pennsylvania pool, Lee Penn gas pool, but it mentions the Purple Sage Wolfcamp pool.
I would imagine, yes, we probably do need to correct those. I think we had applied for these originally in December before we were given these updated codes and pool codes to use in January. So yes, it would make sense that those need to be corrected.
But I'm confused, Ms. Sarantinos. It sounds like the pool code, from what Mr. Fordyce said, was correct, and it's the formation, the way it's described, is not correct. Is that not your understanding? And I'm trying to get us all on the same page.
No, I think that our affidavit incorrectly lists these pool codes, but everything else lists the correct pool codes. So we just need to correct the affidavit.
Is that right, Mr. Fordyce?
Well, no, again, in paragraph 11 for case 25956, it's describing a Bone Spring pool when actually that case is for the Wolfcamp. And in paragraph 11 for case 25957, it discusses Purple Sage Wolfcamp, but that's actually the Lee Penn gas pool. So they're just inaccurate. And I believe that might have had something to do with, there might have been some confusion potentially, because there were potentially some Bone Springs cases as well. So some of these formations or case numbers might have got mixed up. I'm not sure. But again, for 25956, it has nothing to do with the Bone Spring. And 25957 has nothing to do with Purple Sage Wolfcamp.
Ms. Sarantinos, do you understand what Mr. Fordyce is saying?
I do. Again, I really do think it was the timing of which we applied and potentially the overlap in council. But to me, this is an easy fix. We would just be updating the correct pool code to match all of our exhibits in the application.
Mr. Fordyce, it sounds like we're still talking about just pool codes. Is that right, or is that not what you're trying to get across?
Pool names and codes are listed incorrectly in paragraphs 11 and 12.
Yes.
So, Ms. Sarantino, I haven't heard you acknowledge that it's not just the pool codes, but it's the pool names as well.
That is correct. It looks like in paragraph 11 and 12, the pool code name and codes were incorrectly used. However, the correct pool code and pool names have been used correctly throughout all of our exhibits.
Okay, so
And
Ms.
in the
Sarantino,
checklist. Yes.
Ms. Sarantino, you're an attorney, right?
No, sir.
Well, you're not. Oh, I thought you were.
I'm
I thought I remember you're saying that here. So, Ms. Luck, does this require new notice?
No, Mr. Hearing Examiner, I believe that this requires an amended Exhibit C for Ms. Sarantinos to correctly reflect the correct pool codes.
Okay. And make a legal argument why it doesn't require new notice.
Okay, so this is just an issue in her pre-filed testimony. As she stated previously, the applications that are attached as Exhibit B in both packets are correct. They correctly list the correct pool name and pool code. This is an issue with the affidavit. Her self-affirmed statement has 2 paragraphs with incorrect statements, and so we would just simply need to remove those. If you look at paragraphs 7 and 9 of her self-affirmed statement, which is what Mr. Fordyce is referring to, it does reflect the correct pool names and pool codes. We just incorrectly cited the Bone Spring and the Purple Sage in paragraphs 11 and 12. So if you look at 7 and 9, the correct pool codes are listed, and so we would just need to amend her self-affirmed statement.
And are we talking about both cases or just one case?
Both cases,
Both
because
cases.
it's the same statement for both cases.
And you were saying that the applications correctly stated the proper pool codes and pool code names. That is what you said.
Yes.
And Mr. Fordyce, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think in this case, paragraphs 11 and 12 are just errors that need to be corrected.
Good. So then what you're saying then is that the applications themselves don't need to be renoticed.
I believe that's correct. Looking again, application for 25956 is Wolfcamp and that code. The only question then would be what Ms. Luck has already discussed for 25957. You know, the Wolfcamp spacing unit with a lead pin pool code. I would ask, and perhaps Mr. Payne would chime in, if they were going to describe that correctly, how would they describe it if it's not Wolfcamp? A Wolfcamp horizontal spacing unit in the lead pin gas pool. How would it have been described correctly?
Mr. Payne?
Yes, sir. I would describe the pin as essentially top Cisco down to the strawn, and then the Wolfcamp would essentially be the top of the Wolfcamp down to the top of the Cisco, which are shown in our exhibit packets.
So in case 25957, you would have said that this is a pin pool or an upper pin pool?
Yes, sir.
Or excuse me, not pool, but spacing unit. I'm sorry, not pool, but it should have said upper, perhaps Cisco or Canyon or upper pin horizontal spacing unit in the lead pin gas pool, pool code 80040.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for that.
Sir.
I have some more questions for Ms. Sarantinos, actually. I'm sorry for skipping around.
Okay.
Let me see. So I have a question on, well, first let's look at the C102 on page 15 for the 751H. The first thing that I need to point out is that there is an error in this pool code.
Okay.
And that error is that the part that says G-09
Mm-hmm.
is actually G-08.
Okay.
And my next question for the C102 is that if you look at the first and last take point, actually, it says that it's 1,254 feet from the west line, which does not agree with the CPAC that says this well number 1 is 330 feet from the west line. And it also does not seem to match up with Mr. Payne's, let me see which exhibit that was. Exhibit D2 on page 44. These 5 wells appear to be spaced out, equivalently, rather than the 751H and 752H kind of being on top of each other. So I'm thinking that there's a, excuse me, an error in the C102 for where, again, from the measurement from the west line and where this well is located.
You're thinking the error is in the CPAC?
Well, the CPAC says 330 feet from the west line. So if you look at, so if we look at page, say, 16 for this well, and again, the C102 showing that it's 1,254 feet from the west line, and then if you scroll down to the 752 on page 17, it says 1,485 feet from the west line. So these two wells are very, very close to each other in the C102s. And again, the CPAC says 330 feet from the west line. And if you look at page 44 no, that's not correct. I have the wrong page number. Let me get the page. Page 49, for example, Mr. Payne's exhibit D2. It does not show the 751 and 752 stacked on top of each other.
I do see what you're saying. It does look like there needs to be an update to the C102. It looks like everything else is correct on this, though. And this is the gas pool, so it has the 330, or this is 330 from the west line, is what that 751 should be.
In 25956, that is an oil pool. Did you say it was a gas pool?
Oil, no.
Okay.
I heard gas. Ms. Sarantinos,
Yeah,
are you sure?
Yes, yes.
Mr. Ford, she definitely said gas.
So 25956 is its oil pool in the Wolfcamp. 25957 is a gas pool in the upper pen. But yes, so for 25956, it is an oil pool. I believe Ms. Sarantinos misspoke.
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. Fordyce, it sounds to me like you have some more questions for the witnesses before we give any kind of guidance on how to proceed. Is that right?
Let me look at my notes. So for 25957, there were the errors in in Ms. Arantino's statement in paragraphs 11 and 12. There were some questions about Exhibit C2, which it looks like in this amended exhibit, those have been corrected regarding the description for the tracts of land. I also have some questions about notice and the notice list, and then a whole long list of corrections for the CPAC for both cases.
So, Mr. Fordyce, are you saying then that you have concluded your questions for the witnesses?
No, I have some questions about notice, actually. If we could look at, it would be page.
Can you bring this up, Ms. Luck?
It would be page 74.
On the amended packet?
Yes.
Okay, from here on in, we're only going to talk about the amended packet, so you don't have to say that. The other one's been removed. The original one is removed from the record. And which exhibit number is this, Ms. Luck?
I'm looking for the page number that,
On the right side? There you go. Well, you were there. Right by where it says YP, look to the left, there's a little box with a 7 in there.
okay, yeah, I think that this is the page number that sorry, I'm sharing the wrong screen. Let me share the right screen.
Yeah, so this is the transaction report for the notifications that were sent out.
And Mr. Fordyce, hold on one second. Ms. Luck, what exhibit are we looking at?
This is Exhibit E.
E. No sub number or anything like that. It's just E.
Yes, it's attached to my self-affirmed statement of notice. These are the notice documents that Ms. Bennett's office prepared.
So you didn't label this like E1 or E2. This is just all part of E.
Yes, and I can give them sublabels if you'd like.
No, I don't. I just want to be able to refer to them correctly for the record so we know what we're talking about. So from now on, if it's going to be E and then a page number, please say what the page number is. So we're looking at page 74 of 75. Go right ahead, Mr. Fordyce.
So I compared this list to the list that Ms. Sarantino's provided for unleased mineral interest, overrides, and parties that were due notice of the non-standard proration unit. I was unable to find 4 unleased mineral interests, namely Caprock Minerals, Desert Waterfall LLC, Harry and Nancy Elkin, and Norma Chanley, aka Norma Barton. Those are the unleased mineral interest, and an overriding royalty interest, John Lawrence Chilton. But also, in addition to those 5 parties that I could not find on this list that needed to be noticed, I found 8 parties that appear on this list, and I do not know why they're on this list. So I'm wondering whether the right parties were noticed, if we're looking at the right transaction report for these cases, or what the discrepancy is, because it would appear to me that all the proper parties have not been noticed.
So is this a question, Mr. Fordyce, for Ms. Sorrentinos or for the attorney?
Well, I guess whichever one can answer. Ms. Sorrentinos provided this list. And I believe that maybe Ms. Bennett's firm had done the notice, but I'm not sure. Is that correct, Ms. Luck?
Yes, that's correct. This notice was provided by Ms. Sorrentinos to Ms. Bennett to send out the notices. So maybe she can clarify if Caprock Desert, the Elkin family, and the other two parties were provided notice.
So
Um,
just, sorry
ahead,
to interrupt, Ms. Sorrentinos, but just to clarify, either it looks like all the parties that were due notice, those parties are not all included on this list. There's 5 that are missing. Unless for some reason we're, potentially looking at the wrong transaction report and it's not for this case. But right now it looks like all the parties that were due notice are not listed here.
In regards to the additional parties that were listed, I think sometimes we will over notice as opposed to under notice. And honestly, unfortunately, we can't really speak to Ms. Bennett's printout that she has provided. But I do recall that one of the names you had listed, we are negotiating leases with several of the parties, so the Elkins, and they are not listed as a party to pool because we've been negotiating leases with them for quite a while, and we're very comfortable that we will. We're exchanging red lines right now, so those parties will not be force pooled.
I believe that you had indicated in your exhibits Caprock Minerals was a party being pooled. Desert Waterfall LLC was a party being pooled. Norma Chanley, also known as Norma Barton, was a party being pooled as unleased mineral interest.
Yes, it does look like that.
And so I think that if there's additional notices that need to be provided, then that would be our responsibility at this point in time. And I will confirm with Ms. Bennett's office that those parties were not provided notice and inadvertently left off this list. And then I would ask for a continuance to be able to provide notice for these parties.
So for the court reporter, that was Ms. Luck who added that statement. Mr. Fordyce, why don't we continue your questions? And when you're done, then we can talk about how we're going to cure this or how we're going to proceed.
Mr. Hearing Examiner, I believe, looking at my notes, the last thing probably to discuss would be multiple corrections to the CPAC.
Okay, so then it sounds to me like, Mr. Fordyce, you don't have any more questions for the 2 witnesses. Is that correct?
I believe that concludes my questions for Ms. Sorrentinos and Mr. Payne.
All right, before we go to any guidance, let's find out from Ms. Luck if there's any redirect.
I don't have any additional questions. Thank you.
All right. So, Mr. Fordyce, where do you want to begin in your guidance?
If we want to start looking at the compulsory pooling application checklist for case 25956 on page 3, there's some multiple items here that we need to address. Are you looking at, are you with me, Ms. Luck?
Yes, Mr. Fordyce.
For the entries of appearance and interveners, I see Party 1 EOG, Party 2 Permian, and Party 4 Marathon. Should there be a Party 3? Would that be Philip White?
Yes, I believe he should also be listed on here, so I will include him. I apologize.
Okay, scrolling down to the formation names, formation pool section, I guess. Formation name Wolfcamp, and below that says primary product is gas. When in fact, this pool is an oil pool. So that would also mean that the well location setback rules, where it says statewide gas rules, and the building blocks saying 160 acres are incorrect.
Okay, and likewise, the pool code here on line 15 should say the G08, right? Not G09.
That is correct, Ms. Luck.
Okay.
G08 is the correct entry there. Another thing, in the orientation, it says east-west. These wells would be drilled north-south. And in the amended exhibits, going back to the pool code, the C102s, of course, then if they're going to be amended, should all say G08 as well. And I'll be turning to case 25957 for that to, look at that CPAC with you whenever you're ready, Ms. Luck.
Yes, sir, I'm ready.
So I'm in the formation and pool section again. Well, let me back up. If you want to add Mr. Philip White to your entries of appearance on this one as well. And then I'm looking at the formation pool section. For some reason, we have a Bone Spring pool name and code, when in fact it is the Lee Penn Gas Pool 80040. That is a gas pool. So well location setback rules should not say statewide oil well rules. And the building blocks would not be 40 acres, they would be 160s. And again, the orientation is not east-west, it's north-south. In addition to that, for this case, if we go to the next page, pages 4 and 5 actually where the well descriptions are contained for each of these wells. In the completion target section, the TVDs and TMDs are off substantially by approximately 5,000 to 6,000 feet. So I'm not sure where these numbers come from, but they need to be corrected.
Okay, and I will make those corrections.
I believe, Mr. Hearing Examiner, that is all of the corrections to the CPACs.
Okay. Are you done with your guidance so we can figure out how we're going to move on?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fordyce. So, Ms. Luck, it sounds like there's some parties that still need notice.
That's correct.
All right. So how do you plan to proceed?
Well, at this point in time, I would request a continuance so that Avant could properly provide notice and also submit corrected exhibits for the division to consider and to take under review. At that point in time, I would just request this be set for another affidavit hearing. for review if possible. The May 7th hearing, I think is too soon to allow the notice period to go. I'm not sure what other dockets are available.
It would be June 4 or 5. Freya, which is the June docket?
4.
4, thank you. So Ms. Luck, you would continue your case to the June 4 docket?
Yes, please.
And when you submit the second amended hearing packet, include a cover letter that outlines everything Mr. Fordyce just had you do,
Yes, I will do that, Mr. Hearing Examiner.
including how you cured notice for these parties.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there anything further, Ms. Luck?
Nothing further. Thank you for your time.
All right. Mr. Fordyce, anything further?
Looking at my notes and I don't see anything else, Mr. Hearing Examiner. So I
Thank you.
believe I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sarantinos. Thank you, Mr. Payne. And Mr. White, we never heard from you today. Are you there? No. Okay, we are off the record.